Welcome to This Week in Missouri Politics. We traveled down Route 66 to Springfield, Missouri at the absolutely beautiful Hammonds Field here in downtown Springfield to bring you This Week in Missouri Politics with someone making news this week. Representative Melanie Stinnett. You're no longer really Representative Stinnett. You are candidate for Missouri State Senate, Melanie Stinnett.
That is right. Really looking forward to the campaign and happy to be here with you today.
Huge kickoff last week in Springfield.
Yep.
At Pyramid. It was a huge event. It has to feel good to have that many folks come out initially to help you run.
Absolutely.
Even the Springfield Cardinals are getting in.
I mean, yeah, you know, the support's been really great. I've had great conversations with community members, and we're just really happy to be able to show that support off.
You've been so kind to give us your time and be on the show talking legislative matters, politics. But now that you're running for Senate, tell folks about your family. Tell folks about Melanie Stinnett when she's not wearing a legislative pin.
Sure. So I'm married, been married for 17 years to my husband, Nathan. He's from Mountain View, Missouri, grew up in Missouri, and yeah, absolutely.
Kind of getting near Wendell Bailey territory in Mountain View. You're
there you
close
go.
to Willow Springs.
That's right. And so it's been a wonderful, we have two boys that are 14 and 12, keep us really busy playing sports.
Yeah, they look like they do. I've met your boys.
Oh,
They are not short of energy.
No, they are absolutely not. And neither are our dogs. So our dogs keep us busy. We have a new puppy. And so that's been a crazy time. You know, there's nothing like getting a new puppy right at the end of session. Starting
that's
a new campaign.
A special type of torture. Yeah. I mean, what do you?
Yeah. It's like people who get a puppy when they have a baby. Like, why do we do that to ourselves? But people do.
All right. So break down your professional career that led you to run for the House and now run for the Senate.
Yeah. So got my degrees at Missouri State University here in Springfield, and speech pathology was my final degree before I started my career, and then got my master's in healthcare administration.
Do you have any therapy that could help with a hillbilly dialect?
I do, but I don't think you want it. I think it's part of your character, right?
The people from Chesterfield can talk from Chesterfield, and God love them.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone else does.
No, you keep it. I'm not going to help you there. No, but started my career in the hospital systems here in Springfield, and then in 2014 saw a need in the community and opened up a private practice, just doing speech therapy a couple days a week, and grew that practice to almost 30 employees.
You go to the schools and work with the kids. They come to an office. How does that work when you start a practice like that?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. So I started off in the medical side, doing a practice in kind of a brick and mortar setting, and then we expanded into doing some rural public school contracts. A lot of our rural schools really struggle to find access to these services, and so that was a really important piece. Along with helping children with Medicaid, we made it a really big priority in our clinic to help children with Medicaid access those services and get the things that they need met. So
it is a thing you take for granted. I guess like all of us, until you have a disability like that or a struggle, you just take for granted that you can speak. And it's got to be so hard on a kid when goes to school with other kids that don't have that struggle. And kids are not known for being the nicest group of people, right?
Yeah.
I bet that's amazing to feel when you help a kid conquer something that probably weighs on them more than anything else in their life. That's got to be rewarding.
It is so rewarding. I think one of my favorite stories when I was working actually in the hospital, I had a gentleman who was close to the end of his life, and he had what's called a tracheostomy. So he had something in his throat to help him breathe. And we as speech pathologists can put a little tool on there to help them speak. When you have that, you can't speak. And he wanted to talk with some of his family members before he passed. And we put that on, and he took a big deep breath, and he said, "Words are a wonderful thing." And it's something I'll never forget. And I think about it every time a kid says their first words or their first sentence and expresses themselves. It is a big deal. And we do absolutely take it for granted.
It is amazing to think, you sit on TV and you kind of, you run and you BS, you talk for a living. You take that for granted until you can't. It's a different life.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I think we also help kids with occupational and physical therapy, and those physical disabilities are just as challenging as well. So making a difference in the lives of kids, I mean, there's really nothing better. It's been really wonderful and rewarding.
So you run for the State House, but your background is healthcare. I've watched you take some of this healthcare background and apply it to a lot of state law in the Missouri House of Representatives.
Yeah. One of the big pieces that I've worked on is a bill regarding prior authorization and making sure that people have access to care when they need it, how they need it, and basing that decision.
Explain what that is. Some of these terms, I think, kind of like taking words for granted. I think you and I, you get so immersed in this, you think, well, everybody knows what that means. I found that when I see somebody at Schnucks They ask me what terms like that mean. I'm like, well, it means this. And I'm like, we should know. Well,
Yeah.
if you didn't study it, what does something like prior authorization mean?
Yeah, really, it's the process that's utilized by insurance companies to initially, when they put it in place, eliminate fraud and waste and challenges like that. But today, I think it's gone a little too far, and I think it really limits access for patients. So if someone comes to me for speech therapy, I've got to submit information to the insurance company to get prior approval to be able to provide those services. When I think about a 4-year-old that's nonverbal, that has autism, I
Yeah, if
don't.
this was any other flag, I might take
I
that
know.
offensive, but I just can't.
But I think that, that obviously that child needs speech therapy. Having to make people jump through hoops and go through sometimes weeks worth of paperwork and things to be able to get approval is a challenge, and it delays that care, like I said. So that's definitely one I've been working really hard on. But also my background with people with disabilities. We worked hard. My first year, I passed a bill that helped encourage people with disabilities into our workforce. We know we have so many workforce challenges today.
Mhm.
I mean, it is hard to get workers in every avenue. And
It feels like you can almost divvy up the serious Republicans from the non-serious Republicans.
Mhm.
The serious Republicans talk to real business owners, and real business owners, I don't hear talking about tax cuts. I hear they're talking about qualified workers.
We've got to get qualified workers. Our chamber had an event and they were talking about kind of those hidden workforces. And one of those is these individuals with disabilities. We don't think about them. We don't think about how to engage with them and help them get into the workforce. And so we passed a bill that helped encourage them to get into the workforce. And really proud to say that people have called and told me how that's impacted their lives and made a big difference.
So it is so different though. The thing I love about the legislature, and really the Missouri House more than even the Senate, you bring people together from all over the state, from all kinds of backgrounds. I know there's other folks that have a healthcare background. Healthcare is a huge sector. You even have people in the trains industry, locomotive industry. But it is an interesting thing where you can bring these people that have all these different experiences, and you have to explain this stuff to folks that maybe they're a real estate agent, and they have to explain real estate to you.
Yes,
It is a neat amalgamation of people.
it is.
Kind of a, you would never bring that group together.
Yeah.
From that many parts of the state in any other endeavor except in the state capitol.
And one of the most important things about a legislator is their ability to build relationships with all those people. And I think that's something I've really worked hard to do and built good relationships. I think people, when I come to them with healthcare issues or with disability related issues or education related issues, they trust that what I'm telling them is the facts and the data they need to be able to help them make a decision on how they're going to vote or what policy position they might take. And so those relationships are really key. People kind of don't talk about that part of the business of politics and the business of being a legislator, but it is paramount. It's key.
Well, you're running for state senate in a district where your presumed predecessor has been great at that.
Absolutely.
Senator Hove has the one thing you say about him is he has a very broad group of relationships with his own caucus, but he's also one of the senators that can go. I mean, he's one of the last actually Republican senators after the PQ vote, but he can actually go talk to any Democrat. And I think with credibility, I've watched you have a similar relationship with several Democrats in the legislature.
Yeah, I think there are many things we do that are bipartisan. The disability bill that I mentioned was one of those passed unanimously through the House, and those things are things we need to be building relationship around and having conversations around, and not ignoring those things. I think it's easy to focus on those topics that are those big hot button topics, but things that make difference for everyday Americans, everyday Missourians, really important.
In the House, generally you have to get your caucus on board. But in the Senate, the Democrats get elected. They have a different worldview than you have. Different worldview than I have. I'm always candid about that. But there's a difference if you're constructive and helpful and serious.
Yeah.
They want to find a way to compromise to get your thing done. And if you're not, they maybe don't want to compromise enough to get your thing done.
Yeah, and again, that's where relationships come in, having those conversations and being willing to build those things up.
So while we're talking about, we're sitting here at Hammons Field. It is a gorgeous facility where the Missouri State Bears play baseball.
That's right.
I've heard that they've entered Conference USA. They will have the nicest baseball facility in the entire conference on day one.
That is absolutely right. We're really proud of our Bears and really excited to see them take it to the next level.
It does feel like Missouri State, really since the name change and since Cliff's administration, and now with Conference USA, there's a real leveling up of Missouri State. It is growing in prestige.
Yeah.
Now you're going to be able to offer doctorates if the governor signs the bill, presumably. It is a time of really leveling up at Missouri State.
I couldn't agree with you more. I'm so proud of what Missouri State's doing. I'm proud of the vision that they put forward. I'm excited to watch it and just proud to be a Bear.
Well, you could represent them and be an alum. That's kind of a cool thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And not everybody gets to do that.
Well, and it's really neat too.
Not everybody's you and Steven Weber.
It's really neat. I was a student at MSU. I was an employer of MSU students, and now I'm on an advisory board at MSU as well. And so that kind of 360 with them has really been a joy. And watching them grow and improve is exciting.
And as a member of the House from Greene County, you're part of the Missouri State team in Jeff City. But as the senator that represents the campus, you're kind of the quarterback of that team.
Sure, absolutely. I continue to push forward things that will be helpful to them. But also, we've got other universities as well that are doing really wonderful things too.
Let's talk about education. You're a person that's always had your toe in the education pool. I mean, I've always loved you a healthcare person, but I mean, I guess there are many parts of your business that overlap with education.
That's right.
Give me your thoughts. I mean, Governor Keough's pretty much said, I'm coming in as a Blue Ribbon Commission. Look, anything Don Thalhuber's on, and Casey Wasser, serious to me, but I think he might know what he wants to do, his vision. If you make it to the state Senate, the first year, I think he's going to radically change the way schools are funded. Right now, where do you see improvement? Where could you and the governor work together? What's important to you if you overhaul how schools are funded?
I think when I talk to educators and when I talk to administrators, what I hear from them is a lot of red tape. It's kind of like the healthcare conversation. It's a lot of red tape. It's a lot of paperwork that doesn't really positively impact the individual student. And so I think what the governor probably wants to take a look at, what this commission really wants to take a look at, is how can we make sure that our dollars are funding the students and not funding a bunch of red tape that's not really beneficial.
I watched Republicans talk about education. And I'm with you. When I talk to people that actually do this, they're like, I have to do so much paperwork over nonsense. I watch charter schools. And to me, the best part of a charter school is they can innovate. They don't have to bear a lot of these red tape burdens.
Right.
I watch folks say, well, this is the way to do it. But then I watch year after year Republicans put more and more burden of paperwork on schools. It does feel like the system, I think Governor Keough's right in the fact that the current system can't hold.
Yeah.
It's got to change. When it changes, you'll have a big say.
Yeah.
As a state senator, your thing is to wipe the red tape off all the schools?
I think we have to be cautious and careful. There are some things that we have to have in place because we have to have accountability. We have to know that they're performing to the level that they need to be performing. But absolutely, I think taking a look at the red tape, we've had that conversation around childcare as well. Yeah. And red tape is never the best answer. We need to make sure that whatever we're doing to hold people accountable is not just unnecessary red tape.
I'm sure every piece of it has had good intentions, right?
Sure.
But the cumulative effect is I think you weigh people down. And I think people quit teaching, not because they don't like to teach, they don't like filling out paperwork.
Well, and you hear people say, administrative jobs in the schools have gotten too many. There's too many administrative jobs. Well, I wonder why.
Legislature that.
When you've got so much paperwork you've got to do and so many administrative tasks, you have to have administrative staff. And so I think that, you have to take that piece and say, well, if that's a criticism, what can we do to help them decrease that administrative staff?
So you cut the administrative staff by cutting the amount of administration you have to do. That's almost a conservative idea. I don't know. People should watch out. Let's talk about taxes.
Sure.
I think the Republican Party has a real question to ask themselves. We went from 6 to 4. This state has nothing in this state's going well, except maybe the University of Missouri State. That's the only thing that's performing above average. Do you worry as a Republican, as what will be a leading Republican, representing the capital of Republicans in Missouri is Springfield?
Yeah.
You keep cutting, and we don't grow in population, we don't grow in GDP. Do you worry maybe the tax cuts aren't the answer?
I think tax policy is a really complex thing that people like to make simple. I think we have to have really serious conversations about the best way to be taxing people. We have to have tax revenue. We have to be able to fund necessary services and things in our state. But what is the most appropriate way to fund those, to tax individuals? And what is really harming our growth and our income? And so I think that's what the governor wants to see. I think he wants to see a real review of what we're doing currently and what we could maybe change to be taxing people that doesn't disincentivize them from an income, doesn't disincentivize them from working, and really puts us in a good place going forward.
I felt like your potentially future colleague, Senator Trent, had a good idea. the income tax cuts, maybe they're working, maybe they're not. I don't know what you showed to say they're working. But I do think the capital gains cuts is an innovative way. It will stir economic activity.
Sure, absolutely. I think it was a great idea. I think I'm looking forward to seeing what that does for our state, and I have a positive outlook on that.
I like trying things.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of law enforcement issue you've been on top of, you had a piece of legislation this year. Tell me about it.
Yeah, we had a piece of legislation that encouraged recruitment and retention of law enforcement officers from out of state. So if someone's looking to come and work in Missouri, we have license reciprocity for their spouse. And so when you're talking about a law enforcement officer, they're coming home at night after a hard day. Many of us will never understand what they have to do every day and what they deal with. And hopefully their spouse is there to be supportive of them and help them through in the evenings. And if their spouse is stuck in another state waiting 2-3 months for their license to come through, to be a healthcare professional, to be a teacher, to be some other profession in our state that requires licensure, then that's not really helping.
Just going back home.
Exactly. So,
Representative Stinnett, congratulations on a terrific kickoff. Thank you for joining us here on This Week in Missouri Politics.
Great to be here.
We'll be right back with the new mayor of Springfield, Jeff Schrag, here from Hammonds Field on This Week in Missouri Politics.
For more than a century, the St. Louis Carpenters Union has shaped our communities. Through trusted alliances, we deliver skilled professional craftspeople while our business partners provide the kind of quality jobs that keep our economy humming. It's a blueprint that has worked since 1882. Turning Missouri into a right-to-work state stalls progress, wipes out jobs, and kills momentum. Right to work is wrong for everyone. Let's keep Missouri moving forward. Visit carpdc.org to learn more.
You know, Missouri farmers have been doing what's best for their land for generations. After all, no one knows what it takes to feed and fuel a growing global population better than they do. So why are trial lawyers threatening Missouri farmers' best defense against weeds? Our farmers don't need to be controlled. They need to be supported. Keep glyphosate in our state. Show your support at TakeControlMissouri.com. Paid for by Modern Ag Alliance in support of Missouri farmers.
Missouri's childcare crisis is hurting our children, families, and even our economy. Currently, 78 Missouri counties are designated as childcare deserts, where the number of kids needing childcare exceeds the number of available options. Today, some Missouri families are spending more on childcare than housing, and Missouri's childcare shortage costs our economy $1.35 billion every year. Missouri families and businesses deserve better. Learn more at mochampionofchildren.com.
Some politicians claim cockfighting is a proud tradition, but is it really something to be proud of? Cockfighting isn't just cruel to animals, it's cruel to humans. It's linked to organized criminal activity, illegal gambling, even drug trafficking. Leading law enforcement and Christian groups have spoken out and are urging a stop to the violence. But some politicians want to give cockfighters a pass. Keep cockfighting out of our state.
Data captured by our state-of-the-art monitors helps us pinpoint the timing and location of severe weather more accurately and respond to trouble more quickly. Ameren, Missouri's investment in smart technologies like this is one way we're improving reliability and restoring power faster than ever. Responding to trouble before trouble hits. That's energy at work. Ameren, Missouri.
Welcome to This Week in Missouri Politics from Springfield, Missouri, down Route 66 at the beautiful Hammonds Field in downtown Springfield with the newly elected mayor, Jeff Schrag. Welcome to This Week in Missouri Politics.
Thank you, Scott. I feel like I've arrived being on this show for the first time in my life. I've arrived.
I think you've arrived. Now, your wife may have arrived first, but I mean,
good point.
But I think you've definitely arrived.
The good news is the voters, they get me for free, but they also get her for free.
They probably knew.
Yeah, they probably knew.
So tell me about the campaign. Tough campaign. I watched you hustle it.
Very, very humbling. You know, you kind of be politics adjacent, I'd say I've been, but when you actually do it and it's your name and it's yourself exposed, gives you a lot more appreciation for the people that put themselves out there. I got to tell you that.
It is interesting. I know, you're by every definition a civic leader before you ran for mayor. You had lots of people running for office come to you asking for support and help. That's humbling in its own right, but I have to think when the tables are turned, you're on the other side of that desk. It is a different view of the world.
It is a totally different view of the world. I wish more people would do it, get involved, have a goal, move things forward, but it's incredibly humbling, incredibly humbling.
We've mentioned the new First Lady of Springfield, Mary Schrag. How's the First Lady doing?
She's doing great. She's been busy at work and busy with the State Board of Education and doing a fine job supporting me.
That is such a big job. I mean, you've been on the board for Missouri State now for a while. Sometimes that's hectic. Most of the time, not as demanding. That DESE board seems like there's something going on all the time.
All the time. Constantly. I bet 3-4 times a week there's some elongated hour-long conference call or something she's prepping for. Yeah, it's glad she's doing it.
So you have a new city manager you just hired. Tell me about him.
David Cameron. David Cameron has been the longtime city administrator of Republic. They've had really good growth. What I like most about David Cameron is he's an empowerer of people. He wants his frontline people to make decisions. He wants to train them, empower them to be problem solvers. And I'm looking forward to that in the city of Springfield.
It's such a unique job, the city manager. I mean, you're the mayor. He works for you in the council. He's got to have a lot of initiative on his own, but he's still got to realize the system, he works for the public, and the public's represented by you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And there's a cadence to all of these different things. You have to meet the cadence and work on improving, innovative, problem-solving things at the same time.
It is an interesting job, but what a fun job. What a fun time to be in Springfield. Tell me about some of the things going on here in Springfield.
Well, some really good things. I mean, the Cardinals, the fact that the city acquired Hammons Field is great for us.
Yeah.
We're starting to make really nice improvements.
Isn't this a beautiful facility?
Beautiful facility.
It really is a facility worthy of being a Cardinals affiliate. I mean, it has the history. You walk into this place, well, one, you see Sally Hargis's Coca-Cola stuff everywhere. But two, it's beautiful. It's well-maintained. It is truly a facility worthy of the birds on the bat.
I tell you, an interesting thing with my Missouri State hat on now, coming into our new conference, we will come in with the best baseball facility in the entire conference and the best basketball facility in the entire conference.
Tell me about
right
the conference.
Springfield. Conference USA is a widespread conference moving from Delaware to New Mexico. Missouri State is plumb in the middle of it. There's a lot of schools very similar to Missouri State.
So you've got a bill sitting on the governor's desk that could give doctorate programs to Springfield.
Yes.
That's a big change.
Big change. When we were interviewing presidential candidates for Biff's job, it was really interesting the amount of questions we got. Now, why don't you offer PhDs? You're already spending enough money to have the Carnegie designation. Why not? And we had to, okay, well, we got to explain this little quirk in Missouri law.
State legislature. The reason is it was a tough thing, but it's like with anything. You got maybe your nose under the tent with the name change, and then there's just been growth that's came ever since.
Slow, steady growth.
It doesn't help to have that Huff guy twisting arms for you.
I tell you what, that fella, I like him, and I like what he does for us, and we're grateful. We're sure going to miss him.
It is amazing what you and I get in the truck and drive around Springfield and see the things that he's touched while being the appropriations chair.
Yeah, that's well said.
It is a very important, it's been very important for Springfield, especially at this time. He does a lot, but when you have that ARPA money, it changes some of the approach you can take. You can just do more.
That's exactly right. And we're at a point where we can match funds, we can have synergy. That's always the issue with growth, is you got to have a pocket of growth here, but it's got to grow things around it too. And if you can't have that synergy, it's not a true investment. And Springfield's at that point where it's a true investment.
You're set up right now. You have the appropriations chair, highly influential. You're about to have the first speaker from Springfield since Elijah Hart.
Since Elijah.
Wasn't that long ago. You've got a big Senate race, the state politics, one of the two biggest races in the entire state.
Yeah.
We're right here in Springfield with our previous guest, Representative Stinnett, running for Senate. It'll be interesting to see the epicenter. You'll change. You'll still have a lot of clout, but that clout may evolve.
Yeah, that's well said. That clout will evolve. I just believe that the future of Springfield is so bright. Opportunity. We just need to make sure we're open for business, which is my charge as mayor, to be open for business and to have smart policies that respect the citizens and respect the businesses, and we just move the city slowly forward in the right direction. That's my charge.
Tell me about one of my favorite constituents of yours, Crystal Quaid. What's she up to?
Crystal has been working in politically adjacent things. I see her for coffee from time to time. She's been fabulous at giving me advice, helping me out. Always has my back.
You should probably ignore everyone else's advice, but I might consider taking hers. I mean, she's got decent judgment.
She has very good judgment, yes, sir.
So the Springfield Cardinals are doing well. Missouri State's doing well. Tell me about the city government. You inherited pretty steady ship, it felt like.
It
from Kim to Clear.
It is a pretty steady ship. Springfield budgets conservatively, so we're never getting out ahead of our money. We're never, we're desperate, we're spending here, spending there. That's great. Well-trained staff. The citizens gave us a little gift, so we were shoring up our police fire pension for about 15 years. We now have pivoted that to additional monies directly for public safety that we can use for salaries, to increase the salaries of police and fire professionals.
You've got to be competing with what every city's competing with.
Every city is competing.
You have suburbs of Springfield that are very successful and can raise those salaries that probably puts a crimp on the Springfield Police Department.
Yeah.
And fire, for that matter.
That's exactly right. But now we've put ourselves in the top tier of peer cities, which was our goal with the raises. And then we've got another bit of money for amenities.
What do you consider a peer city? Do you consider a peer city suburbs around in southwest Missouri? Do you consider Pierce City Columbia?
Well, you're asking me a great question because we've not done a good enough job of defining that.
Yeah.
We typically now just go by size in the Midwest, which means Overland Park is on some of our things considered a peer, but they're not really a peer. They're a suburb. Columbia, certainly.
Columbia, I think, would be a natural one.
I absolutely
Jonesboro, Arkansas makes some sense. It seems like that'd be a natural peer.
Chattanooga, Tennessee, some of those. Actually, that's one of my goals is to do a better job of defining peers so we can just see what percent are we putting into this? What percent are we putting into that? Just give us a yardstick.
So things that your state delegation is doing well. You've got things going well in the city. Tell me something cool that most people don't think about that's going very well. Something fun in Springfield. Everything's a Bass Pro.
Yeah,
I love Bass Pro. The Vandevore downtown.
That's a
give me a cool place to go.
That's a really good.
I thought you was going to say Mother's Brewery.
Yeah, you should come to Mother's Brewery. We just had the Mother's Day Festival recently. I tell you what, we've got some great things going on in our parks. We got some historic neighborhoods that are starting to do the neighborhood picnics.
Cool.
University Heights is doing a 100-year university picnic this weekend. That's really cool. The art museum is closed for a major renovation, but they've rented an extra space, and so they're downtown now. They've got some really cool, interesting stuff in the traveling show category that's great to see. And Tent Theater starting back up at Missouri State. They have a brand new facility, the John Goodman. I don't know what they call the proper
Nice is it to have a Springfield person with ties here that cares and puts so much back in. He doesn't have to because he's a movie star. He can do what he wants. He cares.
Yeah,
he
cares.
Same with in St. Louis. It is he's the kind of quality celebrity that's great to have.
Nicest guy you'd ever talk to. Yeah.
Mayor Schrag, thank you so much for the hospitality. I love Hammondsfield. This is a beautiful place. We appreciate you having us.
Come back anytime.
And please say hi to the First Lady for me.
I'll do it. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you so much for joining us on This Week in Missouri Politics down Route 66 in Springfield, Missouri here at Hammondsfield. We will see you next week here on This Week in Missouri Politics.
This Week in Missouri Politics is sponsored by the Missouri Automobile Dealers Association, Ameren, Spire, the United Electric Cooperative, and the Missouri Association of Career Fire Protection Districts.